Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. Woo woo! First time in Stanley Cup history.
We were going all the way to 7, and
Lord Stanley will not be kissed by another Canadian team. The years will extend to 32 years. The countdown till they win the cup has restarted. Grab it. Every Canadian in the house by the third period was drunk.
when the Panthers went up 3-0 this series, if you'd have told me we were going all the way to 7 and this thing would be decided by one goal, I would have thought you were crazy, but here we are. I know from Edmonton side of things, this really, really hurts right now, but I also know there's a lot of pride from that fan base about how this whole thing went, and honestly, just how the team and the city even came together in general, as there should be. It was awesome to see. Hold your heads high, Edmonton. You've got a lot to be proud of. But from a Florida
Alrighty, so I've always been a Florida Panthers fan. I knew they were going to win the cup, obviously. I bet I have a bracket that can supply that. No, obviously I didn't know that it was going to be the Edmonton Oilers versus the Florida Panthers. I originally thought it was going to be like a normal person. I thought it was going to be Vegas versus Florida, and Florida was going to win. One of those things happened. Vegas made the Stanley Cup. I'm kidding. The Florida Panthers won the cup. And I'd rather have Florida win the cup than Vegas go into the finals and win it again and be wrong.
Panthers' perspective, this night could not have been more perfect. Sure, you maybe would have wanted games 4, 5, and 6 to go a little differently, but all of that got you to this night where you got to celebrate your first ever Stanley Cup championship at home. I honestly won't be surprised if it comes out that this was one of the most watched NHL games ever, and you got to do it with a bunch of guys who've given so much to this organization, to this team. They've been there through the ups and downs for so long, and tonight they finally got rewarded on home ice. I can't even imagine being somebody who's been part of that organization for a long time. I was in reflection mode, and I'm not even a Panthers fan. I just remember the 2012 playoffs, seeing them in that first round against New Jersey, how weird it was. Whoa, the Florida Panthers made the playoffs. It had been 12 years since the last time they made it, and they had to wait another 4 to make it again. They'd only made the cup final once, and they got swept. There were always the jokes about them being an irrelevant franchise, and the low attendance, and having no fans. They even poked fun at that with their rally towels in these playoffs. Seeing guys like Kulikov, Ekblad, Barkov lift the cup, that must have been downright cathartic, not just for them, but for people who've been following this team for a long time. And there were some great moments here. Paul Maurice is just a gem every time he's in front of the camera. Him saying he wants the Winnipeg Jets to win the next Stanley Cup after everything he went through with that franchise, I thought that was super classy. You could almost see Winnipeg through the screen tipping their cap to him and saying, "We're happy for you, Paul." Then there was Matthew Tkachuk with an all-time Stanley Cup winning quote. That one's going to do the rounds for a while.
Let's make it happen, baby. Let's make the Winnipeg Jets win the next Stanley Cup. Woo!
Well, especially in Calgary. But for me, by far the most heartwarming moment was Roberto Luongo lifting that cup. Yes, we're talking about one of the original Florida Panthers legends who finally gets to lift the cup. He went through so much with that franchise. Outside of Barkov, he's probably the greatest Panther ever. He got his jersey retired with the team, and of course for Game 7, he was the one banging the drum pregame. So even if it's not as a player, for him to finally...
I'm sorry, I'm not old enough to understand or know who that is. I know some great players, like Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Paul Coffey, Yammer Yager. I just named 3 Penguins. Let me think of a player. Mark Messier. Yeah.
Get to lift the cup, and to do it with that franchise is just such a heartwarming moment. But what takes it to another level for me is I can't help but think about Vancouver Canucks fans right now. How are they feeling seeing Luongo finally get to lift the Stanley Cup here on top of the Panthers fans? Like, that's got to make it one of the most celebrated people to lift the Stanley Cup of all time, up there with guys like Ray Bourque. I mean, the official Stanley Cup Twitter even tweeted about it. That was an unbelievably special moment for more than just one franchise. It was heartbreaking, it truly was, to see him after Game 7 in 2011. That's one of the most beloved NHL goalies, maybe even NHL players ever. So many people, including myself, just really wanted to see him get it. It never came to pass as a player, but for it to happen after his playing career with the franchise where he basically made his name, that's one of the biggest things that makes
He
that
needs to become a
34.5 pound
coach or
piece of metal
GM
just
of
so
the
damn
team at
special.
some point.
Panther fans, Canuck fans, I know you've been waiting a long time to hear this. Bobby Lou's finally got his cup. Give me your thoughts on this. Who is your favorite person to ever see lift the Stanley Cup, and why? I love hearing those little backstories behind it. Over the next couple days, we're going to talk.
I would like to say the Penguins. Like, obviously, I'm a Penguins fan. But I'm not that, like, hey, my team was best team. I'm not saying that. I would never say that for the. I would never say that for everyone. I would probably say this might come to a surprise to everyone, but the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets are the Calgary Flames. But Winnipeg more. You wanna know why? Because they used to be the Atlanta Thrashers. I love the Atlanta Thrashers. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap this one up.
The cup, but also about the draft and for free agency coming up here. If
Stay
you're new, please
here.
consider liking and
Stay
subscribing. You guys
watching
are
this
awesome. Thank you
AF.
so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
This is a bad time for new hockey fans because I have no idea what's going on right now. So, yeah.
All right, normally I don't do pre-game videos because what's the point? Especially when I've recapped the prior game, but this is different. I have never in my entire life watching hockey seen an NHL game which has this feel about it.
Next man up is going to be... I got to talk about this more. Next man up's not going to do a draft video, so this year's draft, he'll not be a part of it. He'll not be a part of it till like the regular season, maybe. So, next man up, this would be your final radio show. Not this video, a couple of videos back. You know, it's kind of sad that we need to pass on this torch. But the reason why I'm doing this is because we already have 2 NHL series. Yeah.
People are saying that this may be the most anticipated, important, just the biggest NHL game of all time. And as the Edmonton Oilers try to, for the first time in the modern era, perform the reverse sweep in the Cup Finals behind the greatest player of a generation, as Canada looks for the Stanley Cup to return home, I find it hard to disagree. All I really want to say and why I'm making this video is to remind you, whether you're a Florida Panthers fan, an Edmonton Oilers fan, Canadian, American, European, whatever, appreciate moments like this, because this will be a game either way which you will remember for a very, very long time. But I'm very curious, what is your plan for the night? Where are you posted up? Do you have the game on already? Are you watching with your friends? Are you watching some commentary alongside? I was thinking about live streaming this game, but I decided that for me, I want to watch this with my dad. These moments come along only once in a while. It's funny, after Game 3, I said another disappointing Stanley Cup final. Regardless of what happens tonight, how wrong I was.
It's not going to be a disappointing one because guess what? They had a tie in the second period.
Smokes.
and oversimplified. I'm gonna watch you sometime in the future, but not right now. Oversimplified, maybe later. And you know what? I'm gonna talk about the comment down below. This upset the British, who punished them severely. 16 subscribers, Low Mouse. I'm not gonna shout them out. You guys just need to find them.
Oilers fans. You know what? I include myself among you all. We, I guess, should be sick to our collective stomachs right now because the Oilers just missed out on the opportunity to do something truly legendary, to complete what would have been the greatest comeback in NHL history. And you know what? Fair play to the Florida Panthers. They were the better team for 4 out of 7 games of this series, including tonight. The Edmonton Oilers not only lose out on that opportunity, they also waste a Conn Smythe season from their star, Connor McDavid. But his performance tonight, I think, alongside some of the other stars, will be a major point of discussion for the entire summer. Florida played the version of their game that we saw throughout games 1 to 3 of this series. They forechecked hard. They were relentless in both zones. They were doing a phenomenal job clogging up the front of their own net. And when they scored that second goal, they seemed very comfortable, and I was worried for Edmonton. Edmonton all game was struggling to make consistent zone entries. They were establishing some presence in the O-zone, but still weren't getting great chances. It felt like to score, they were either going to need a power play, which to be honest was not happening. The refs really swallowed their whistles, or just a lucky bounce in a fast break, or a superstar play from McDavid, Draisaitl, or Hyman. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman, however, did not have that one play in them tonight. All 3 players remained pointless. And I don't know. McDavid got totally shut down, and that's a credit to the Panthers. But, and again, maybe this is an overreaction. I do think for a long time.
Eek. If they wanted to win the Stanley Cup, they should put their defensive core in. I keep saying this, and the Florida Panthers kind of already did it. If you want to win, you need to put your defensive core in and just push your offensive core. You need to put your, what I basically said before. They did not do. The Edmonton Oilers decided, we're not going to do the defensive part of this. We're going to just do the offensive part. And they did that. And the defensive players acted like offensive players. And offensive players are awful at doing a offense job. Offensive. So, yeah. I took some pictures of the Stanley Cup. I'll delete them eventually. I didn't take any videos. I'm gonna look up if it's copyright claimed.
People are going to point to him being completely shut out in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals as a black mark on his record. And you know, it was interesting who showed up for each team. I thought Draisaitl was brutal almost all game. He turned it up a bit in the third. Tkachuk, mostly invisible. Didn't see a lot of Hyman. While, shocker, players like Forsling, Barkov, they all made their presence very well known. Honestly, the biggest offensive drivers for the Oilers felt like Ekholm and Bouchard. In the first, man, Bouchard rang one off the post when they were tied 1-1. I don't know, I'll get to the actual goals in a second, but just to talk about the flow of the game. I mean, there were only 3 goals. Florida came out strong, I thought. Edmonton did a phenomenal job getting back that goal right away, but it really felt like the game was comfortably in Florida's hands after the Sam Reinhart goal in the second. I think that Edmonton got a little too desperate with their line combinations too early in the third, and I say that as someone who always wants to see McDavid on the ice. They were putting McDavid and Draisaitl together the entire third, running them long shifts with Hyman, and that led to one of the most pathetic final 2 minutes I think I've ever seen in a 1-goal Stanley Cup
I gotta
final.
talk about something. I have something serious to talk about. The NHL stole my bingo card. Seriously, they stole the whole idea. Seriously. It's more like plays than. Speaking about bingo card, do I got it still? There it is. Woo. Alrighty, we get to cross out some stuff. A Canadian team wins the cup. That almost happened, man. Oh. Ooh. Heh. Alrighty, we're gonna go into Adobe. This video is gonna be longer than it should. This is where we last left the Stanley Cup playoffs bracket, the NHL playoffs bracket. Alrighty. Let's duplicate this because I bet we got some more. Duplicate. A Canadian team makes the Stanley Cup Finals. Yep. It's supposed to say wins. And I expected NHL team wins the Stanley Cup. I'm not sure if we can. Many people thought that Edmonton was going to win. We also got some Florida fans. So, yeah. Vegas wins back-to-back Stanley Cups. That's obviously yes. No, it's not. A Toronto but nope. I unexpected. We're going to go back to that and actually talk more about that. A wildcard team makes the second round. Wildcard teams. NHL. This would mean Tampa Bay or Washington. Neither of them made the second round, so technically you can't. Stanley Cup champions are winning away. If that was true, we would be able to do a Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup. The Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup. Yup. I believe Vancouver advanced to the second round. I'm not fully sure. I'm going to do another one. There will be a OT game in the Stanley Cup Finals. Nope. Sadly, we didn't get one of those. Yep. The Stanley Cup playoffs to the Stanley Cup Finals 2024.
According to Wikipedia, the 2024 Stanley Cup Playoffs was the playoff tournament of the National Hockey League for the 2023-24 season.
Is this what it is? Okay. So you might need to turn Edmonton gray, but anyway, what's the one that we're looking at? Vancouver advanced to the second round. Okay. Vancouver indeed advanced to the second round. Where is it? There it is. Oh, dang it. I win something or I get to do something. So one upset during the playoffs. We could say that Florida could be an upset. I need 4 in a row to win. So this wouldn't work here in the 3-row one and the 2-row one. I need 3 in a row. So technically I might be able to get 4. I'm going to talk about it and then decide. So yeah, this is going to be the world's longest radio show. Alrighty, so, a Canadian team, no. A wildcard team makes the second round. No. No, this is not true. one upset during the playoffs. I bet there have been a upset during the playoffs. It's not like, whoa, this happened. It might be the Stanley Cup Finals. Stanley Cup champions winning away. Unexpected NHL team wins the Stanley Cup. Now, I meant something different. This one we're going to be talking about. One upset during the playoffs. I meant, like, upset meaning, like, they're the opposite team. Because I really thought Toronto was going to win and Boston obviously won. We could technically say that the unexpected team won the cup. I'm gonna say that doesn't qualify by the definition that I set by the first round or the beginning of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So technically, alrighty, a Canadian hockey team gets a injured player. Oh, yes? I bet this is yes. This might be no. There you go. I'm gonna check that one off. A good at NHL, a good team at NHL loses before the Stanley Cup Finals. So a good team. Dallas could count as a good. The Rangers could. Yep. I'm counting the Rangers because they won the President's Trophy. Yeah. Canadian, no. So if Vegas won the cup this year, I might get a 4 in a row, but I don't got anything yet. Electronic, no. Oh. If Edmonton won the cup, I might have gotten that one. Oh, dang it. Ah. I don't know, I'm trying to look for all fours. And if I made any mistakes, please comment down below. Sup, Kyler? Well, good morning to you, too.
Were late pulling their goalie. They spent a lot of time behind their net waiting for breakout passes only to just fire it away. Draisaitl missed a
I
pretty
was
key
sure
pass
that they
with
were
like
going to
50
get
seconds
another goal.
left. Just no fight, and I'm sure that was mostly an exhaustion thing. Regarding the goalies, I mean, obviously Bob had a phenomenal game. Some real scrambly moments there. Brandon said Bob was his choice for the Conn Smythe. I definitely see that. I think it was those prior 3 games and just McDavid's unreal stats collecting, which made the decision for the hockey writers. Stuart Skinner looked really sharp in the first, despite letting up that goal. I think he probably wants the second one back, but he was by no means the problem here. I thought the Oilers were also pretty good defensively, but the first goal, that was not great. I don't know what Bouchard is doing here, but he needs to be on the man in front of the net because Carter Verhaeghe tips in a shot. Skin Dog, not much chance on that one. In 5 minutes of the game, the air has left Edmonton's sails. Suddenly, all that momentum from the past couple of weeks has turned around, and it's 1-0. However, the connection we were all expecting to see heat up would in this game, as Ceci would find Janmark, who would just score an absolute beauty on the partial break. I'll call that a full break, actually. Let's not be picky. Not gonna lie, I kind of expected Bob to play that a bit more aggressively, but hey, that was the only one he let in. In the second, however, with 5 minutes left, Florida scored what honestly at the time felt like the dagger. And this was after an absolutely insane sequence. It must have been like 4 or 5 minutes without a whistle. Edmonton had a bunch of opportunities in Florida's zone, and it always happens like this. That's what my dad said right after the goal. After the sustained pressure, it goes the other way. Reinhart takes it and just beats Skinner. Again, one he probably wants back. There was a lot of activity in front of the net. I mean, I find it too hard to be overly critical here. He had a great game overall. Anyway, that's that. Congrats to the Florida Panthers. So cool to see not just Bob and the others lift the cup, but also Lou and Paul Maurice. Some really, really classy guys in the game of hockey. I do think this Conn Smythe pick will end up being somewhat controversial. I mean, Connor McDavid was not just shut out this game, but also game 6. I don't know. know. Let me know your thoughts on all this and more, of course,
It was
down below. And hey,
Bobrovsky.
it'll be a short off season, but we're not
That's
going
who
anywhere.
won the
See you again
Stanley
soon.
Cup. Who decides? Is there like a
This dad was
committee?
just trying to sleep, but their baby boy for some